Hi everyone, welcome to the Radults podcast, the podcast that shows you that you can turn your dreams into reality by bringing you the stories of those who did exactly that. Today's guest is vocalist Nikki Brumen. Nikki fronts the phenomenal death disco band from Melbourne, Pagan. Nikki Brumen, welcome to the Radults podcast.
Thank
Who are
you.
What do you do?
I am Nikki and I sing for a band called Pagan. We're blackened rock and roll. Well, that's what we call ourselves. Other people might call us something different. And I get to tour Australia and the world in my band.
I like to just go on record and say that, like, based off, like, your music, I call you Death Disco to everyone.
Oh, that's a
Italian
great
Death
title,
Disco.
and I'm going to take that from now on. Yeah, Italian Death Disco is a perfect title.
I think it works.
Yeah.
How does a person who grew up on the Mornington Peninsula, the most white bread presence you could possibly have, end up singing in a death disco band?
You nailed the description of Mornington Peninsula perfectly.
It's almost like I grew up there.
Yeah, exactly. Like being a Southie, you just know.
Yeah.
It's actually surprising, which you would know as well, being a Southsider. It's surprising how much how many bands came from Mornington that were heavy. It was very popular when I was a young teenager, when I got into punk and metal, to start metalcore bands when you were from that area. I've actually, as a result of growing up and loving metalcore, I actually resent it now. I actually despise the subculture. I think it's disgusting and really sexist and awful. And when I look back on the gigs that I used to go to growing up, they were just so non-inclusive. But because I grew up going to those kind of gigs, it always made me want to be in a band. It made me want to front a band really, really badly, because I was like, there's just such an underrepresentation of women in this scene. And I saw these guys doing it, and I was like, I know I can do this as well as them. I know I can do it even better than them, because I also have a performing arts background. So growing up in Mornington, it was so, you were just so restricted in what you could do on the weekends. So my twin sister and I would just, during the week after school, we'd just listen to the newest CDs we bought from Missing Link that weekend. We'd get the train to Missing Link, buy a whole bunch of CDs, because CDs were cool back then. and then we'd listen to them, and then we'd go to gigs on the weekends, and she had a guitar, and we'd just like write songs together. And it was basically our way of escaping from the really boring place that Mornington is.
Mike rambled an incoherent question that Brenton then clarifies.
Since that moment where there was like maybe Circle the Sky, and then you're saying that there's been an evolution within that scene, that you're seeing that there's more people, like, well, Nikki is an example, but more people taking the chance and being in bands that are of different gender associations.
Definitely. That's definitely better.
Yeah, in the heavy music scene, for sure. Definitely not metalcore specifically, though.
I don't like to...
I'm not.
I wish it wasn't around still.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
It had its time.
But, because I was a teenager who grew up listening to that kind of music, I have that scene to thank for the fact that I am doing what I'm doing now, because I could just see how non-inclusive it was, and I wanted to change that. But also, there were so many gigs going on, like in Somerville and Frankston and stuff when I was growing up, that luckily, even being in Mornington, we were still able to go to shows, and there was like a little bit of a community. And even still now, I'm friends with quite a few people who would go to some of the shows, and that's the way I survived growing up in Mornington, I suppose, by just...
For those of you who don't know, Nikki made a reference earlier to being a twin sister. The twin sister is Olivia Brumen, who you may have listened to our episode with, who's a tattoo artist. Something that's really interesting to me overall about the dynamic between the two of you is that you both grew up and attended the same schools, and you grew up in the same area, It was Padua, right?
Yeah,
You went to high school
Yeah.
at. And very sort of conservative school, but your sister's a tattooist, you sing in a metal band, you've both taken different ways to rebel.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Liv and how that rebellious instinct sort of took hold of both of you?
Yeah, it's no coincidence that we both ended up doing something really alternative in our careers in life. Our father is a very traditional Eastern European man he actually fled World War II, so he has a very different understanding of the world that you and I do, and I respect some of his values, but growing up he was incredibly strict, and Olivia and I, we were just like the black sheep of the family. We were we were always the black sheep. We had our uncle, who we're still very close with, he was really into punk, and Olivia and I became really close with him when we were teenagers because we didn't have a good bond with our parents. And he would take us to gigs. And I remember there was like one night he took us to a gig in the city. It was at the Hi-Fi bar. We were underage. And then after we went to Hell's Kitchen, which is a bar on De Graves. Mm-hmm. And he ordered us gin and tonics. He was like, you're drinking these because this is a cool drink to have. And we were both like, this is disgusting. We hate it, because we were like drinking lolly water on Mount Martha Beach at that stage. And like he made us drink them. So he was just like a really cool person I always looked up to. He's not a big drinker, by the way. He never made me drink alcohol other than that one time. But he was like a role model to Olivia and I growing up. And because we had each other, because a twin bond is just unlike any other bond, we really influenced each other's music taste. And I think because Olivia was really into punk music and I was really into like sort of more older punk and more garage rock, we were able to like teach each other, educate each other, and then we both like kind of got into metal as well. And it's like having like double the amount of knowledge on music, which was really great. But yeah, we basically just lock ourselves in our bedroom that we shared and just learn about music. And that's how our love of punk and hardcore and metal really began.
Brilliant. And that, of course, manifested itself in a band that you had together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Little Lamb and the Rosemaries, the great record Bad Timing, which has the funniest artwork I've ever seen on the front of it. Look it up on Bandcamp if you can come across it. What was that experience like, playing in a band with Liv? And do you think it's something you'll ever do again?
At this stage, I'd say we probably wouldn't ever do it again. We would never do Little Lamb and the Rosemaries again. Yeah. But there's a big chance we could play music together again. I just think Olivia is incredibly busy with tattooing, and I'm incredibly busy with Pagan now that it's not likely to happen anytime soon. It was amazing playing in a band with her because as I was saying earlier, when we were young teenagers, she got her first guitar. I think we were 15. Maybe 16. She got her first guitar and we would write songs together in our bedroom, and we'd dream of like getting a drummer and being a proper band. And finally, when we got to our mid-20s, we made the dream a reality, and we actually started to just jam. And I was pretty nervous about doing it at the start because it was about 7 years ago and there was still a very obvious underrepresentation of women in this heavy scene, like even in the punk bands. And I was just a bit intimidated about going in and doing it. But after doing our first show, I just couldn't give a fuck anymore. And then I was like, nah, I'm doing this. But the really good thing about writing with Olivia is that we just both understand each other in a way that no one else does. And we don't even have to speak to each other to get if we like something or not. So writing music was really easy together. But also having those few years of being in Little Lamb and the Rosemaries before I started Pagan, it really taught me how to be in a band. because all the boys in Pagan have been in bands for years. So the fact that we're all people who have been in bands before Pagan, I think has really helped Pagan. You know, we all understand what it's like to be in a band, what it's like to record, like the recording side of things we're all really comfortable with doing because we've had years of experience with it, what it's like to work as a team, you know, like those kind of things I learnt from Little Lamb, which is really great.
You spoke about the underrepresentation of women in the metal scene or in music in general. What made you take that initial leap to, like, let's say perform, to record? When, at one point, did you just go like, oh, fuck it, like, let's just do it anyway?
Well, we'd been, like, with Little Lamb and the Rosemaries, we'd been sort of just writing music and jamming, like, once a week for probably about a year before we did our first show, and we just felt ready. Like, I really just stopped caring. I was like, I've had 3 years of acting training. I know how to get on a stage. I'm not embarrassed to get up in front of people. I know I can use my voice in the way I want to. Olivia was good at guitar. Like, we had a good band, and we were just like, we're just going to fucking do this and just make it known that we can do it as well as anybody else. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, you should just do it if you want to do it. Yeah.
The evolution of you as a singer and as a musician and as a personality as well has been really fun to witness from the mosh pit or from the crowd. I believe I was at the first ever Pagan show and also went to a few Little Lamb and the Rosemary shows.
I wholeheartedly believe that, Brenton, because you are so supportive of everyone in bands.
And the thing that has always struck me is that enormous amount of confidence that you have as a performer on stage, and I do wonder how much of that comes from that background in acting.
I think at the end of the day, a lot of it just comes from me being somebody who likes to be in front of people and perform. Yes. But acting, because so a bit of background for the people playing at home. I studied 3 years at acting school at the National Theatre. It was a very intensive course. It was 5 days a week. There were 11 people in my class. Probably saw everybody in the class cry about 8,000 times. Like, you see each other's best and worst sides. You break down every barrier. It's almost like therapy. It's so fucking weird, but it was amazing. And it actually helped me grow up so much as a person. But also, like, I've taken so many of those acting techniques into performing, like you said. So I think a fair chunk of it is the fact that I've trained as an actor and now I know how to be on stage comfortably. But I don't say that in the way that I get up there and I perform. Like, I'm not acting when I'm on stage. Acting is actually about reacting. A bit of an acting lesson for everybody. Yeah. Acting is reacting. So if you're reacting to the situation, that's the best kind of acting you can do. And I think to react to the situation, you have to be in the moment. So my best shows in Pagan are when I'm just totally in the moment. I haven't planned on what I'm going to do. Like, I'd never go on stage being like, okay, in this song, I'm going to tip wine on my t-shirt, or this song, I'm going to jump into the crowd. Like, I just am very spontaneous with those kind of things. And I think that's really important. But acting school actually taught me that. Acting school kind of teaches you not to act at all. It just teaches you to be in the moment, which is really important. Another side of the acting school thing that was really incredibly beneficial is the vocal training side of things. And I'm a stickler for warming up and warming down. I think that vocal health is so important. If you want to scream the way I scream in Pagan, you have to use your voice correctly. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to tour, because you're not going to be able to do show after show. And every show, I give myself an hour before the show to, like, I don't look at my phone. I just go in a corner. I warm up. I do crazy warm-ups. People laugh at me because they think it's lame and whatever, but I don't care. I'm the one using my voice safely. And then at the end of the show, I usually have to rush to the merch desk, so it is hard to warm down, but I'll just do, like, some humming and warming down stuff as well when I can. And I completely avoid cigarette smoke. And these kind of things are things that I learn in acting school, which is really great. I know a lot of people use that that documentary, that
Zen of Screaming.
Zen of Screaming,
yeah.
but it's really funny because that is just they're just standard vocal techniques that you can learn anyway. But it's great that this woman's created this market for it. Very clever. But I got to learn all of that in acting school, which is awesome.
I remember when I wanted to be in a band and I was like, yeah, I'll be vocalist, which I couldn't do now. Like, the anxiety would actually kill me.
No, no, I reckon you could do it.
I watched that because, like, the way it was marketed was, she taught Corey Taylor, Jonathan Davis, all these people. Like, she'd had this list of it. And then I watched it and I was just like, a lot of it, not to, like, bag it out or anything, but a lot of it was, like, common sense. Like, I was like, I think I could have probably known to do this. Yeah.
But really clever, though.
It is. Look,
and I love that she encourages people to warm up safely.
Yeah.
And
Completely. Your vocal cords is a muscle.
Yeah.
So if you're an athlete and you're using your body, what do? You warm up.
Yeah.
You train. You protect your body
Exactly.
by putting in the preparation and by looking after it and giving it everything it needs. So why you wouldn't do that as a vocalist, I've never really understood. So
Yeah.
it's great to hear someone
And that's...
saying this.
And I think it's evident in your performances too. You see a lot of musicians that move around on stage and then they're out of breath because they're doing both.
Yeah.
They're moving, they're jumping, they're singing all at once, and then you can hear the strain, whether it be that they've got to stop singing and give it to the crowd, or makes up. But you don't have. It doesn't seem like that comes across as any sort of difficulty for you. You work the stage and you're all over it, and then it still doesn't seem to like affect or diminish your vocal ability at all.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it is. It like, unfortunately, a lot of it is about having to be like a nerd and doing the warm ups. Not being around, like, the biggest thing, do not be around smokers. Never let them in your green room. Never, like, the only shit thing about Germany, I love Germany so much, and Europe so much. The only shit thing is people smoke inside venues. Oh. And so it's a little bit unavoidable, but at least if you're a headline band on tour, you can be like, no smoking in the green room. You can be that person. But being like a bit of a nerd about, even like, I'm quite a fit and healthy person, because I know if I wasn't, I wouldn't be able to jump around on stage for 45 minutes and scream, because it's incredibly tiring. Yeah.
Before we get deep into Pagan and where you're at and where you're going, I'm really interested to know, when did you discover that you had this ability to scream?
Actually, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And what made you go, I'm going to use that?
I don't know if there was... I don't want to give you a crummy answer, but I don't know if there was ever like a specific moment where I just realised it. Like, I wasn't sitting in my bedroom one day and just screamed at the wall. The time when I realised I could do it was when I saw a whole bunch of men doing it, and I was like, well, I've got more to be angry about, so I'm going to be able to do it.
Brilliant.
Like, I kind of like, I never thought I couldn't do it. I always thought I can do it because they can do it. Like, if somebody else can do it, I can do it. And again, like, going back to the Little Lamb and the Rosemary's thing, like, the fact that I was in a band for 3 years before Pagan, I worked myself up to screaming in Little Lamb. Like, in Little Lamb, my vocal style was kind of screamy, shouty stuff, and there were some songs where I'd scream a lot and I'd damage my voice a lot, and I learned how to not damage my voice from being in a band for several years. Yeah, a lot of trial and error, I guess.
Let's have a chat about Pagan and about the tour that you've just come off in the UK. How was it?
In one word, it was surreal. It was so amazing. So we did, technically, a lot of people in the UK got really annoyed that the poster said UK because it was only England. And we also did Europe. So it was England and Europe. We did England, Amsterdam, and Germany, and then we did one last date in England. The first show we played this tiny venue I think the cap is probably 150. It's called the Old Blue Last. It's in Shoreditch in London. Really cool area, really cool venue. You guys would be stoked because every time I die, I played there.
Yeah.
So, just so you know. And just imagining them playing in there would have been the most mental gig ever. It was just amazing venue. And we rocked up that night. We had heaps of, like, interviews before the show. Our manager, bless her heart, bought us, like, 2 bottles of Campari and 2 bottles of Prosecco. It was, like, a little bit of a celebration before the show. So we're all having a few drinks and getting ready and warming up and doing our thing. And I just didn't want to go upstairs because I just didn't want to see that there were 5 people there and be upset about it. Like, I just wanted to get up there and go straight on stage because our green room was downstairs, go straight on stage and then just do the show. So, like, I walked upstairs, like, we have, like, a bell for, like, when, like, the lights go down, the bell starts, the Pagan neon cross comes on, and, like, we walk upstairs. I'm still not looking at the crowd, get on stage, and my back is facing the stage because that's the way I start the set. And as I turn around, as Dave starts playing the first, like, intro riff, I just look out and the room is full. And honestly, like, I'm not, like, being dramatic here. My eyes start filling with tears and, like, I get that choking feeling in my throat and I have to hold back the fact that I'm about to cry from happiness because I'm about to start singing. It was so overwhelming. Like, we have traveled, like, we're jet lagged. We traveled, like, 24 hours. We'd had, like, a day off before, luckily, just to, like, get our bearings. But to play a show on the other side of the world where you're playing 150 cap room and the room is full, it was the most surreal feeling, considering as well it was our first time over there. Like, we just had no expectations. So the entire tour was incredible. Yeah, it was really amazing. And
I think we can all agree those smaller venues, when they're packed, are better than any big show that's packed, I feel. I love those small, almost like basement vibe shows. Like, I love the Evelyn for that reason. Like, it's tiny, and when it's packed, it's like just a big party.
Yeah, oh, I agree, totally. And just, like, having people sing the lyrics back to us. Like, in Germany, like, our show in Hamburg, there was easily 150 people there, and like, the room was full, and they're singing the words back and, like, stage diving, and then, like, they're so crazy, like, buying every bit of merch. We have these tote bags, which I love the tote bags. I think they're really nice tote bags, and they're really good quality as well, but no one buys the tote bags. And when we were selling our merch in Germany, the first guy who came up to the merch desk after the show was like, "Oh, can I get a tote bag?" And he must have seen my expression because he was like, "You mustn't sell many of these because you look very surprised." And then that night we, like, sold every tote bag pretty much. I was just like, what is going on? Europe is amazing. I shouldn't say it's better than Australia, but it's like, the people there are just so responsive, you know, and it was so overwhelmingly incredible to be there.
It's interesting hearing that Europe has responded to you in such a positive way, because 100% the first thing I thought when I listened to the first Pagan demo I had, and then the first thing I thought when I listened to the first tracks you released, and then the record as well, was this is music for a European and English audience. This is not music for an Australian audience.
Yeah.
So it's good to know that is the way that it's connecting. But I wonder if you know why. Do you know why it is that it's connecting with people over there, and why it has that more of a vibe that seems to be suited to Europe?
Yeah, I think it's funny that you say that, because a lot of people do say that to us as well. And I think it's because our very early influences, and I always say this to anybody who asks about Pagan and, you know, what do you think your sound is? Genuinely, we're not trying to be like anything, and that's why we have, like, a Pagan sound now, like the death disco, as Mike described it. But originally, like, we of course we have, like, inspirations, like, you know, we were inspired by Turbo Negro.
Yeah,
we were inspired by Kavalatak. We were inspired by a few Norwegian black metal bands, and I think that's why it's got that European sound. I as well, like the fact that we went over there and like had a great tour, we've been really, really lucky with the people who've helped us so far. Like, we have a great record label and we've got a great manager in the UK, and our management team here are really amazing. So they've helped all those stars align so that we didn't go over there and play to 5 people every show. But yeah, I think that the European sounding thing was from those very early days of writing, like you said, our first demos. Our main inspirations were bands that had come from Scandinavia or European countries.
I think it's evident. Like, I mean, you're sort of like, some of your shorter songs as well sort of remind me a little bit of like Nails as well, the band Nails.
Cool.
Just a little bit.
Nails.
Like, I think that it's more, you've got like that sort of ambient, atmospheric like music in it, but at the same time like heavy as fuck as well. But that you can hear the energy of yourself and the other band members. Like, you can almost hear I think this is where the death disco comes from. The excitement in the music.
Yeah, totally. We always wanted to, that kind of rock and roll thing, even though it's like hardcore music. Like, we love Turbo Negro and bands like that, so we wanted to keep that kind of sound. But what surprises a lot of people when they ask me who like my personal influence is, my number one influence, I do not try to be anything, I don't try to be her, I just am inspired by her. My number one influence is Karen O from the Yeahs. Always, totally forever. Yeah, and people are always very surprised by that, but when I was young, I used to dress like her, I used to be obsessed with her. I've seen her play many times and like cried when I see her because I just think she's so incredible. I love everything they do. I think they're one of my favorite bands, and I don't know, she's my main influence, and whether or not people could hear that, I don't know, but that does not go at all with the European thing because they're from New York.
But that's a fascinating thing though, because I did know that, but I could tell that from your attitude anyway in the performance. I think one of Karen O's greatest qualities as an artist is that she is all in at all times.
And she's such a performer as well. Their live performances are amazing to watch because it is that is the only thing you could possibly be watching at that point in time if you're in that room. Right, there's no way you could avoid the presence. And I love acts like that. So that's a very good point to draw an influence from, particularly from a performance point of view, I think, and it marries itself really well to that vibe that the band has. In terms of the rest of the band, it's always interesting to get singers' perspectives on the other musicians in their bands. This is like a bitch session.
No, it's not. It's not a bitch session, but you could give us some interesting insight, right? So they've obviously all got different backgrounds. Like, Dan's obviously quite clearly been in that sort of beard punk scene. Like, that's kind of his thing. And then Zave's, to me, recalls a lot of Refused and a lot of post-hardcore and hardcore acts. Has that helped shape the sound of Pagan as much as your voice has, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. The really good thing about writing the music that when we're writing, like when we're writing Blackwash, we are all so collaborative. Like, you know, no one, like, people's ideas might get turned down, of course, like, you know, but we're never nasty to each other. We'd never make somebody feel stupid for coming with an idea. And I think as a result, it's created the Pagan sound. Like, Matt was really into listening to like French pop music when we were writing Blackwash. I don't even know what French pop music is. Sorry, excuse my ignorance. I'm sure it's really great because he has great taste in music. And he has a jazz background in drumming. Like, if you ever look at his snare, the way it's positioned, it's like really tipped forward, and people always freak out. They're like, whoa man, your snare, like, don't you want to lean that back a bit? And he's like, no, this is the way I like to play. But as a result, we've got those real poppy disco dance beats in there. And then Like Dan and I, when we were starting out, were a bit more into like really extreme, heavy kind of blackened metal. So that's why there's kind of the blast bits in there. And Zave was into like really pretty sounding guitars. So he and Mike work really well together when recording on those kind of things. So I think because of all our personal little tastes, we put all those flavors into the mixing pot and it creates the Pagan sound. And now we don't have to force anything. Like we just know what's Pagan because it's just a bit of each of us.
I think you've definitely got like a truly unique sound, like as a band. Like you can't really go and like label it and go like, oh, this band could totally be this band, or like, you know, replace this band. It's its own. Going from that, if you could tour with like any band in the world, who would it be?
Oh, that's
so
such a hard question.
It's a co-headline tour. It's Pagan, and who would it be?
Yeah.
Charlotte.
Charlotte. Clowns. No.
Should I elaborate and say maybe like who would be suited for a co-headline?
I think like Kvalitak would be a really good tour with Pagan. Like that would be awesome. Or maybe like Every Time I Die would be like a suited sound.
I can see that.
I mean, I'm not a big fan or anything like that, but that would probably be like a good match, like in terms of like the styles.
Completely. It would also be a good match in terms of getting over the message that women can do this as well. Which would be a good opportunity. I could see that happening, actually.
Because you're both your own style of rock and roll.
Yeah.
You've had rock and roll and you've taken inspirations and put it to that to go, all right, you've got your sound, they've done the same, they've done, you know, and their sound just based on their own influences, like you said, like the mixing pot.
Yeah.
So you've still both, you know, if you said fundamentally rock and roll, but your own, you've made your own. So I think that'd be awesome.
It would be.
Oh, the Corner Hotel.
It's a great question. Or like a Turbo Negro would be another good one.
Totally.
But yeah, if it was like my own personal dream, it would be like, probably yes. I'd say.
There was no wrong answer to that question, so I'll take the yes as a perfect response. Now, I don't want to out you too much here.
Yes, he does.
But
he 100% does.
I watched you watch Good Charlotte at Download.
I used to love Good Charlotte.
And you looked like you were having the best fucking time. So what I want to know is, do you believe in the concept of a guilty pleasure? And musically speaking, or do you think people should just be open about what they like?
Yeah, I think like when I was a teenager, I really liked Good Charlotte because they did used to be a pop punk band before they were manufactured bullshit. Like their first album was good. Their first album was good when I was 13.
Yeah,
like,
Little Things on it or a bang.
And it's like a really creepy, weird thing. But Olivia and I, because we're twins, and Benji and Joel are twins, so we were like, we have this connection and we like Good Charlotte. So I, like, when I was backstage at Download, and I was only backstage because my partner was playing Download, I saw Benji and I was like, I need to get a photo with you because my twin sister loves you. And he was like, oh, all right. Like, that I was so weird. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was so wasted. But yeah, I think, I don't know, people get really weird about the term guilty pleasure. They're like, it shouldn't be a guilty pleasure. It should just be a pleasure, whatever. But I really like Mariah Carey.
Yep, that's okay. We're not into musical kink shaming.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I love her. Because I grew up listening to her and, you know, I just like her.
I want to hear
People might hate me for saying that. I don't give a fuck.
I want to hear Mariah Carey's take on metal. I really do.
I don't.
That whistle note she has could be the highest pitch scream that has ever existed.
She could do
if
like,
she used it.
She could do like synthetic metal or something like that. Like go join Nightwish or something like that, maybe.
Now, I can't help but notice that Nikki, and I'm sure Mike's noticed this as well, is wearing a Marilyn Manson t-shirt. Which makes me wonder, apart from the yeahs, I know what Liv's influences were growing up, though, a lot of the Riot Girl punk scene stuff. Mm-hmm. For you, apart from yeahs, what other acts contributed to your musical love, I guess.
Well, Marilyn Manson is a good place to start. I just absolutely love Mechanical Animals and Antichrist Superstar. They're like my two favorites.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. I also was obsessed with Refused, which Dennis is like another one of my big influences.
Brenton's also saying, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, like Refused. Even Dennis's voice, I would say.
I want to see Pagan support Refused.
Yeah, that would be a good time.
I want to see Pagan headline over Refused. I
just
said it.
But Dennis, like, even my screaming style is pretty influenced from Dennis. I probably should have included that earlier. And I loved, like, older punk as well, like Susie Sue and the Sex Pistols. I was really, really into them when I was younger. But I also had a really garage rock background. Like, I loved Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. I loved the White Stripes when they started out. I remember going to Livid Festival, and that's when I saw Yeah Yeah Yeahs for the first time.
I was there.
Yeah, I think I was like 15, and I saw the Liars, Yeah Yeah Yeahs, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, and then the White Stripes, like one after the other.
Amazing.
And it was so amazing. And those bands really inspired my songwriting style that I have now. Like, I just love the simplicity of it, and there's no bullshit. There's no, like, it's just, they can get up there and play their instruments, and it's just really good. And yeah, they were big influences when I was growing up.
I was too young to go to Livid. My first music festival was, I think it was V Music Festival with Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, that sounds good.
That was alright. But yeah, I was too young for Livid. I remember seeing that. Same with like the earlier Pushovers.
Yeah, I remember going to them as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, then when Olivia and I started going to all the shows in like Frankston and Somerville and stuff, I was, obsessed with like Carpathian and...
Oh, see, that's my background. Like, so, what was the best Frankston show or like Mornington show you ever went to?
Oh, you're testing my memory now. Maybe like they started doing those like, I can't even believe the tours were called this. This just sums up exactly how sexist this scene was. Boys of Summer.
Yeah.
Boys of Summer, because girls were totally not welcome at any of those shows unless they were looked as sexual objects. Anyway, I think one of the better ones was Evergreen Terrace when they played.
Yeah.
Because,
with Himza and...
Yeah, and I loved Himza. I used to have like Himza patches and stuff, but I love the Evergreen Terrace one because it was Olivia and my birthday that day, and then they were really lovely, and like they really liked the fact that there were girls there and really trying to be inclusive, and yeah, I think that maybe was the standout.
I had a Himza belt buckle. Yeah, it was their logo.
They were really good. What happened to them? I don't even know.
I don't know.
It's probably the same thing that happens to most bands.
That are decent.
People are like, oh, this band's amazing for 2 records, and then they move on and stop caring, and it filters out. And then, unfortunately, they give up.
Yeah.
And I really hope that isn't the trajectory that a lot of bands take.
I actually, looking back at it, that happened with like, well, Evergreen Terrace it happened too. I think they're kind of back now.
Yeah. I have a fun fact about Evergreen Terrace for you. I don't know if Olivia would have said this in her interview.
Didn't mention the band once.
She has an inner lip tattoo that says ET, and it's for Evergreen Terrace, even though now I think she does not tries to deny it.
Does she try and pretend that it's
extraterrestrial?
It's a Steven Spielberg, like...
Yeah. Well, I think she just admits to it, but we always joke about it and be like, you can totally like get something else written... Because it's just ET, so I'm sure she could find something else to write over that.
If you really wanted to do the twin thing, you could get 742 on the inside of your lip.
A friend of mine got an inner lip tattoo, and it said, and I still speak to him sometimes, he's a really cool guy. He had scumbag as his inner lip tattoo, but the S rubbed out.
Oh.
That's like an absolute true story.
And probably like the worst place to have that written, right? Anywhere. Oh.
This seems like a perfect opportunity to take a rad break before we go into slightly dirtier terrain that we probably don't want to cover on the Radults podcast. So we're going to play a couple of quick games with you. The first one we're going to play with you is called Rad or Fad. And the second game we're going to play with you is called Radult or Battle.
What was it called? Rattle Battle.
Radult or Battle.
Battles, okay.
Alright, so Rad or Fad is the first one we're going with. So we're going to pitch you some things and you're going to tell us whether they are rad or fad. Right? The first thing I'm going to ask you is a bit of a hand pass and a very easy one for you to answer. Women fronting metal bands, rad or fad?
Rad as fuck.
The second one's going to be inner lip tattoos.
I think they're rad, but they were a little bit of a fad about 10 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, how many people these days are stuck with like these nuts?
Yeah.
Or sharks.
They make me feel a bit sick because they bleed heaps when they get done.
Yeah.
Right.
But it mixes with saliva as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. And the third one is people mistakenly listing Pagan as being from Italy because you took a joke too far.
Rad.
Italian
So rad.
disco, right?
So rad. Love
Italian
it.
disco based out of Melbourne, Australia.
The only problem is that people now think I'm Italian as well, which
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm Slovenian.
Yeah.
I've never claimed to be Italian. That's the thing.
People are just like, she's from Sicily for sure.
Yeah.
Minor details.
It's so rad. We just are waiting for the day that we get to play in the mother country.
Okay, and I'm going to let Mike lead Radult or Battle. It's a one-person game.
I'm stressed.
I am too. Olivia Brumen. Radult or battle?
She's definitely a rattle.
It's not what she said yet.
Yeah, but it's because I'm the evil one, and she probably said that too. There's always a good and evil, and I'm the evil
I think
one.
she did say that you're the evil twin.
100%. But everybody always thinks she is because she's the tattooed one with the hair. The tattooed one with the hair. I have hair as well, but with the coloured hair. but she is definitely the angel, and I'm so the devil. She's the rattle, I'm the battle.
Let's go with that. Let's go from this angel devil aspect and move on to our next line of questioning. I'm really curious. I know it's a personal decision and it's one I've also made myself. Why don't you have any tattoos? Your sister's a tattooist.
I was really serious about being an actor when I got out of acting school, and even before I was in acting school, I'm during acting school, and I still do occasional acting work, and you just jeopardize your chances of getting commercial work when you have tattoos, because you actually do get asked when you go to a casting. You have like a casting sheet and they ask you, do you have any visible tattoos? And you have to answer yes or no. And if it's out of two people, one has tattoos, one doesn't, for like a mum, who looks like a very like clean cut mum who lives in Brighton, who would never have tattoos because that's how
people in Brighton are.
Yeah, but that's how fuck the acting world is as well. They just generalize everybody, but they'll go for the person without the tattoos. So if it's going to limit my chance of getting like a well-paying job, I just don't want to have any visible ones. And now I used to want them when I was young, but then I didn't want them, and now I'm happy to not have them.
I don't think you need to have them. What I wanted to get out of that is what you actually gave me there, and that is a tip for being a rattled. If you're an actress or an actor or anyone that's looking to work in a field where you might get commercially cast, really consider what you do with your body.
Definitely. I mean, some actors definitely still get work with tattoos.
Yeah.
And now that tattoos are a little bit more mainstream than they were, it's, a bit more likely casting agents would look past that. But they do, with castings, it's very, very, they really stereotype people, like even in ads and stuff. So it's just easier to get the work without them. And I don't want them anyway, so it's fine by me.
And look, there's a couple of actors that I won't name because I don't like these actors, but they have some terrible fucking tattoos. Some of the trashiest looking things, and you see them in advertising campaigns, and I'm just like, nah, can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to keep going on the acting train for a little bit because I watched a web series you're in a couple of years ago called We Are Not Real People. It's really good. Look it up, people, on YouTube. Are you looking at doing anything else like that? And have you ever thought about combining your acting skills and Pagan in a bigger way than just video clips?
At this stage, I just don't have time to do stuff like that because I do work, obviously, as well as tour, and I'm very, very busy as it is, and I've gotten to the point where I have to be kind of selective with the work I take on. But the thing with acting, as I was discussing earlier, is that the beauty of it is it can go hand in hand because, like, creating video, like music video clips and stuff, and I have this network of people I've met through acting who are amazing cinematographers, and then they therefore can help us do, like, our music videos or, performance-wise, it's gone hand in hand. So at this stage, I'm really comfortable with what I'm doing. I also do, like, a little bit of voiceover work, which, again, that helps me with Pagan with my recording, and my recording with Pagan, like, being comfortable in the recording studio has helped from the acting stuff and the voiceover stuff. Like, it all goes hand in hand at the end of the day. It's all performing. It's all live performance art.
And if you ever got sick, Liv could do your voiceover work.
Yeah.
No one would even know. How do you balance, let's say, like, your work, I guess we should say work-life balance. So how do you balance, your day job with the band and then your free time? Since you're so busy anyway.
It's hard. It's pretty hard, especially because, like, when you're going overseas to tour or around Australia, and at the moment I am working full-time hours as well, but I'm really lucky with my job. Well, I don't think it's fair to say I'm lucky. I've been very strategic in the job that I work, in that it's in an arts industry, and all of the people I work with are like-minded artists, whether they're drag queens or actors or musical theatre performers or opera singers. They're all creative people. So when I tell my boss that I've got a tour coming up, they're really supportive about it. And I had this moment when I was really stressed before going on tour, and I kind of had, like, a little bit of a mini meltdown to my manager, and I was like, I feel really bad. I'm so sorry. I'm going to be away for this many weeks. I come back for this many weeks, and then I'm going away again. And she just looked at me and she was like, Nikki, if you didn't do your creative stuff, you wouldn't want to be here. So I'm really happy for you to go off and do your creative stuff, and then when you're here and liking it because you're supporting your creative endeavors. And I was like, yes, that is such a good response.
Staff morale.
I actually love my job. I'm very fortunate to have the job I do because, they're really supportive of it. But, balancing my social life with all of that, it can be a bit tricky. But, I'm doing what I love, so be it. It's what you got to do.
It definitely is. I want to talk to you about a topic that a lot of people probably asked you about, and that is the concept of being the person that people associate with Pagan, right? So as
the face of Pagan.
You are the face of Pagan, right? And you are you're the feminine face of Pagan.
I feel like the guys
right?
in my band would hate to hear you say that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but universally, if I'm speaking to somebody, the first thing they notice about your band is the fact that there is a girl singing in them, and that girl is front and center, and that a lot of what's going on stage seems to be based around you and your part in the band. Does it get frustrating to you that people see gender first when they talk to you, or do you like the fact that they see it first?
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating because I just want to be looked at as a band who are good, not a band who are good with a girl singer. I mean, I'm a woman, and I do identify as a woman, so that's fine that they see me as a woman, but I want them just to look at us as a good band, not a band that are good because there's a girl who's good. Or,
I agree.
So It can be really frustrating. I remember when we played Unified 2 years ago, it was a very big deal when we got the opening slot because we were very new and it was very exciting and it was a great opportunity. And I remember I ran into somebody I actually know quite well at the festival, and they said to me, it's so awesome that you guys got that position because you're a girl fronting a band. And I actually like...
What a slap in the face.
Yeah, and I, to an extent, I get why they said it because there was a big, amazing online call out about it saying that there are only 2 bands who had female members. And it was kind of like really started that, you know, real call out culture about the festival, underrepresentation of people other than cis white males on lineups. But I remember it was just a real kick in the teeth because we didn't get that slot because we're a band with a female. We got that slot because we'd created a really good rapport with Triple J and they actually chose us for it and because we were suited for it. And it was evident when a few reviews came out and they said that we were one of the standout bands of the day.
Yeah.
So if we were just getting it because we had a girl, I think there would have been very different reviews. It probably would have said that we were very average and we were only doing it because we were a female-fronted band.
I remember your set. I was standing next to 3 guys who I would very happily never have a conversation with again. And when you walked on stage, they said something which frustrated me so much, which they looked at each other and they went, oh, she's a bit alright. I wonder if she's got any skills. Let's stick it out a few songs and see if it's worth not going to the beer tent.
Yuck.
Right?
I wish I
and I think I shared that with you at the time, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But my response was to turn around and go to them, stay for the few songs you're planning on staying. She's going to change your mind. Mm-hmm. Right? And 2 songs into your set, they were screaming along and shouting and enjoying every single second of what you were doing and acting like they'd been supportive from the start. And I watched one of them walk up to the merch and buy one of your shirts and walk away as if he'd proudly been endorsing your band for the whole time.
Yeah.
What I took away from that
gross.
interaction was 1, there's a massive fucking problem, right? And 2, you changed their fucking minds. That's amazing.
Yeah.
See, this is where you're a little bit more positive than I am. With
Yeah.
something like that.
Like, I don't really want them coming to Pagan shows.
So he
But
goes,
maybe they're better now.
But yeah.
like, if Brenton's going, I hope that they stick it out and see this. I would have been like, fuck off and go to the beer tent.
Yeah.
I've also heard someone say that you only got a slot on a tour because of a relationship you had with a member of another band.
Yeah.
And my response to that was very different to the response I gave to those guys then.
Yeah.
And what keeps coming back to me in these interactions is that people still don't see it as an equal playing field.
Yeah.
And I think that bands like yours and there's very many other bands that are doing good work in this space are starting to open up people's minds.
Yeah. It's incredibly naive as well. Like, when I hear those kind of responses, I'm like, these people just have no idea how the music industry really works. They have no idea. If, like, you know, I do date Stevie, who sings for Clowns.
I wasn't going to say it. That's fine.
No, but, like, our bands have so little to do with each other, and the people who work for us and with our bands have no impact on anything that either of our bands do.
Is that a deliberate thing? Like, have you deliberately tried to...
No, it's not deliberate at all. If I had it my way, I would love to have people working for both of us be the same, because it would mean we'd probably be able to tour together more and stuff and see each other more as a result. But our music styles just doesn't fit. Like, we're completely different styles of music. The good thing is that we're both heavy bands, so we can still play the same shows sometimes, which I love, and the same festivals. But yeah, like, if people actually knew the inner workings of the music industry, they would never have comments like that.
I think one of the biggest issues as well, and I think like a lot of people have been guilty of it, is there's like a sense of ignorance when it comes to it. And it's not, they don't know that they're being the way they are, not that it excuses it. Like, they'll say something, you go like, that person shouldn't have said it. But they're saying it so deadpan, straight-faced sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what you've just said? It's like those people that say that they're not racist and then continue to say something racist. And not realise. It's that same... I don't like that...
There's a really long way to go. And the fact of the matter is, it's not only men who behave that way. I've heard women say the exact same thing. Like, I have friends who've said, I don't usually like girl bands, but, you know, your band's really good. Like, things like that. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
What is a girl band?
What, girl bands all that we're just...
Spice Girls?
Yeah, like we all just sound the same. Like
you're a genre.
Yeah, I'm pretty fucking sure if somebody heard Sleater Kinney compared to Pagan, they'd know the difference. You know, but it's just putting us all in this one basket. It doesn't matter. We're just bands. We're musicians.
We had a previous guest that was talking about either female artists or even female, like, involved bands on festivals and saying that, you know, it's bad if those bands are put on as placeholders or as like a tokenism thing. And she went on to say, what's disappointing when something like that happens is there's plenty of bands that have merit, you know, that could include that. So it's to have that takeaway, like you said about Pagan getting on Unify and Open in that, you know, you earned that spot. You had, you know, Triple J supporting you and all that. How do you feel if someone were to say that Unify have bands on there as placeholders just to support a demographic or to be more broad with that?
I think that to an extent I can understand why somebody would think that. But at the end of the day, there are so many good heavy bands with gender diversity. That means festival lineups are really solid with bands that are great, and it doesn't matter what gender they are. Is someone breaking into your house?
No, my coffee machine has taken on full life of itself.
I thought we're about to get wrong.
Has turned itself on. But it does present us with a good segue point. Thanks, Black Coffee.
Yeah.
Is to talk about Black Wash.
Yes.
Right, the record that Pagan put out via EVP it was?
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. And Hassel in the UK.
Which has been really well received to the point that I text you from time to time telling you about different podcasts.
Yeah, so sweet.
Because it's just nice to hear, you know? It's nice to hear your friends being referenced on international podcasts or international radio shows or whatever. Did you think the record was this good when you put it out? Like, as good as people have responded it to?
It's even weird still hearing people say that it's really good because I just don't know what it's hard when you're in it because you just don't know the way other people perceive it. When we wrote it and recorded it, we did everything we could. We had no regrets. We worked our fucking asses off. And all we cared about was creating something we were happy with. And it probably sounds like a cliche and it probably sounds lame, but that is the genuine truth. I didn't care if anyone liked it. I didn't care if anyone hated it. I just didn't care. I was like, we have created a product that we are so incredibly happy about. I shouldn't say product. I should say it was a piece of art. We thought of it as a piece of art. Like down to... every bit of it, every word I scream on that album has been thought about. We would go into a rehearsal and do a really rough demo when we'd written all the music parts. I'd take away those demos, and for literally months I didn't read a book, I didn't listen to new music, I didn't listen to a podcast. All I would do was listen to the Pagan songs and draft and redraft until it was perfect for the band and for me. And even recording, Mike, who we recorded with, he is a part of our family and he just knew how to get the gold out of us. And the day I did my vocals, I did 10 tracks in one day.
Whoa.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I went in there, the most I'd ever recorded was 4 songs. And I was really nervous about recording because originally we'd set aside 5 days solid to record, and there was a really horrible situation that happened, like a family emergency with somebody, and we had to cancel the 5 days, and in the end we had to do it sort of all broken up over a few weeks. And because that happened, my vocals just had to kind of be slotted in where they could fit.
Yeah, and it's the life
And
of the vocalist.
yeah, like originally we had like, you know, this really great time set aside, but because of that, I had this big day session to do my vocals, and I was like, I'm only going to be able to record like 5 songs realistically. And I went in there and I just kept going and going and going and going. When I got to the 10th song, I was in fetal position on the floor crying because I brought up all this emotional baggage, and it was like a therapy session. And Mike was like, yeah, we've recorded the whole album except for one song and the B-side of, we have a B-side on Death Before Disco that we recorded as well. He's like, yeah, we've done the whole album except for one song. Yeah, good work. And I was like, don't make me do the last song, Mike. I can't do it. I've done enough today. He's like, yeah, I know, you've done amazing. Like, we've done 10 songs. And we were just like, what the fuck? And I went out that night and, like, was just the biggest shell of a human because I just, exhausted every, like, emotional, physical thing I could actually get out of my system. And then the next day, I couldn't even cough without my stomach muscles, like, tensing up. I was so sore because I just, like, done everything I could. But, yeah, it just proves that we literally couldn't have done more than we did. So, yeah, I'm so proud of the album for that reason. And as a result, I just don't really care about other people's reactions to it. I love it when people say they love it, of course, but I never cared about what people thought of it. I wanted to do something we were proud of.
That sounds like a tip for being an adult.
Yeah.
I mean, we're obviously both fans without even knowing. For Oz Music T-shirt Day, we both wore Pagan t-shirts.
Yes, awesome.
Like, didn't even know. I said, oh,
so sweet.
I wanted to put it on the Radults page. I was like, send me a photo of you in your Oz Music T-shirt. So he does, and then I'm going, you're not going to believe this.
Aww,
I sent a picture. And, yeah,
that's awesome.
Not even like, I was like, oh, Australian music, yeah. All right, cool, awesome.
You guys are the best.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
and that was weird.
You know, not that we want to sound like super fanboys. We didn't just get
We
you
are
on
super
because
Yeah.
we think you're fanboys. We got you on the podcast because you think you have a really interesting story to tell and really good insights. And the fact, the creative process you just spoke us through is something that a lot of people wouldn't be privy to, wouldn't know exists. I think people feel that music just happens.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
But you know what?
It takes a lot of hard work.
You did it because you said, fuck it, and then you did it.
Yeah.
You know, like, there was nothing that was going to hold you back when
Yeah.
you made that decision, so...
Yeah, there was never doubt in my mind.
And I think more people have to do that, you know, just say fuck it to whatever situation they're in and just do it.
That's always my advice as well. Like when I get amazing people come up to me after a show and they tell me they're inspired to pick up an instrument or sing for a band, I always say to them, just do it. Just don't think about it and just do it. Just give it a go because you never know what it's going to be like until you do it. And if there's ever any doubt, it'll hold you back. Like you just got to do it. Like life is just too short to not.
Just do the thing.
Yeah.
Just do the thing, which is an ongoing theme of these podcasts.
Oh, I love that.
Nearly
That's
every
so
single
nice.
person we've spoken to from so many different industries just says exactly what you said.
The hardest thing is starting something, I think.
It is.
You know, well, or making sure that once you've started, you have to finish it.
That, and especially, like, not especially, but I can only speak of my own personal experience of being in a band. Starting a band is really hard in the sense that you don't see the rewards straight away. You know, you're playing shows, might be a Thursday night, it's raining outside, you want to sit in front of the heater and watch Netflix, but you got to go to a gig, you got to load in all your gear, play the show, there might be 20 people there, go home, and it can be quite uninspiring, and I think that's why a lot of bands break up early on because they just don't see the rewards straight away. But it's the bands that actually stick it out and realize, you know, how exhilarating it is to play in front of people. Even if there's only 20 people there, it's still really rewarding. And if you are doing it genuinely because you love it and genuinely because you're just trying to create something and doing it for your own love, people will see that. You know, if you're not trying to be the next bloody band who've done it before you, if you're doing something really original, people will see it.
And I think bands have to remember as well, if it's a Thursday night and it's raining and it's bad weather and there's 20 people there, it's because those 20 people like your band.
Exactly.
You know, they're diehard fans or they're big fans of your band. So those 20 people mean more than a room full of people.
I agree with that completely. And I think there's way more to say about a band who can play well in front of 20 people opposed to a stadium. I've always thought that.
Play well 20 people.
Way harder because you have to work harder for the crowd. When the room's full, you can actually get away with doing less and the show's still really good because the audience are doing half of it for you. Whereas if the room's half empty, you've got to work harder. And I think there's so much more to say about a band that can hold their head high after that and be like, yeah, it was a great show.
Cool. There's one more thing I want to ask her before we let you go and let you on your way out into the wonderful world of being Nikki from Pagan. And that
you can have your own podcast.
Yeah, I love that.
The wonderful world of being Nikki from Pagan.
If that was it would be... Tonight, I'm going to the screening of RuPaul's.
Is that what you're actually doing tonight?
Yeah. The new episode of All Stars.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I want to know, as a band, Pagan have a very specific brand set, right? Or branding approach. So your photography, your merchandise, your on-stage presentation, everything follows a very smart theme that's nice and linear and looks amazing.
Yeah.
How much of that was thought of as the band grew and how much of it was part of the band at the start?
It was all part of the band at the very start, from day one. From the minute we created Pagan, we wanted it to be like a cult thing. Like we knew what we wanted Pagan to be. We didn't really know what the sound was going to be like. That was the only thing, because as I said earlier, we didn't try to be like any other band, but we knew that we wanted it to be really thematic, right down to every sentence that we write on social media or every T-shirt or every thing we think about on stage. We wanted it to be very thematic. So from day one, we considered it. And the candle cross image came about really early on. And luckily, it's something we still really like. Because that would have been a bit problematic if we hated it now and changed it.
Yeah, the neon candle cross is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And not only that, but your typeset for Pagan is probably like one of the most unique but sort of like 70s style.
Yeah.
It reminds me of John Carpenter's Halloween
that's so
almost.
cool.
That's what it's like.
That's awesome.
Going from that and talking about, like the themes that Pagan do, how hard of a line was it to have, I guess, like, let's say your style as a band and not be gimmicky, let's say like Ghost or someone like that,
I love the gimmick.
I love Ghost.
I do too, but how, like, at that same time though, like, it's easy to go, that's a gimmick. How hard is it?
I think because we genuinely were just doing things that we loved as people. Like, and I'm not saying that ghosts don't love that as people. I don't even know what they're into, but we, like, the cult thing, for example, like Pagan cult, like you're joining the cult. I am very, very interested in cult, what makes a cult, and like cult leaders and how they bring people into their organizations. Like, that's something Dan and I were really interested in. And I think because, like, the gimmick isn't there because it is genuinely stuff that we're really passionate about and interested in, and it's all a part of us as humans, like every bit of Pagan. Like, none of it's fake. It's all very truthful, and it's all... and I think as well, like, the songwriting side of things, I am actually writing about things that I'm passionate about. It's not, like, nothing's fake about it. Yeah.
Are we going to see any Pagan Kool-Aid
Maybe. I want to work on getting the Pagan branded like wine or something first.
I'm sure we could get that happen.
Pagan, live in Jonestown.
Pagan, yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah. There's a lot of
Pagan
breweries. There's a lot
cool.
of breweries and wineries down in the Mornington Peninsula. I'm sure someone can hook you up with something.
Yeah.
regarding the branding. Now, Nikki, you have been and are a Radult, and you can be our cult leader any day.
Yeah.
We have joined the possession.
We have joined the possession. Thank you for being on the Radults podcast.
You're both Radults as well, just so you know.
I'm going to blush.
Thank you.
I'm so glad this isn't filmed.
Partners in blasphemy for life.